Sheriff Chris Morse is going to be introduced. Is going to be introduced by Bob Turner. Former Congressman Bob Turner won the Queen's special election several years ago in a majority Democratic district that hadn't seen a Republican elected official in 80 years. We did it before, folks, and we can do it again. Okay, let's say it. Chris Morse, he's the boss. Chris Morse, he's the boss. Chris Morse, he's the boss. It's great to be here this evening and see so many familiar faces. If we can just reflect for a moment, 3 years ago, when I ran, it was the grassroots support that got this job done. The media didn't believe it could be done. The New York Times told me we would get 18% of the vote. You didn't believe it. You went to work and you got the job done. And I think we can do that again now. We have a candidate who stepped up from Elmira, of all places, Concannon County, handpicked by Rob Astorino. He wanted a man of independence and integrity. Sheriff Morse began as a special deputy and moved on to investigator, to sergeant, to lieutenant, to division commander, and then finally to the elected position of sheriff of the county. He knows his business. He went back to school, got his undergraduate from SUNY, his master's from Marist, which I know very well. One of my kids went there, soaked me for a lot. But I think he learned something, finally. So I'm grateful. Sheriff Morse is a man that can be counted on, a man of integrity. Now, when I first heard the name Sheriff Morse, I thought Sheriff was his first name. But it's not, it's actually Chris. And I thought, gee, that was an interesting name to be giving a kid. When you played cowboys, who's going to be the sheriff? Well, that would be me. But that's not how it worked out, is it?
No, it didn't work out like that.
But we have real sheriffs like Wyatt Earp and Matt Dillon in counties other than Queens. We could use somebody to clean this mess up. Believe me. I think Rob Astorino and Chris Morse are the team that can get this job done. A team of integrity. They can be believed. They know the priorities. They know what to do. I hope enough New Yorkers are tired of this mess. Our enemies, as always, are apathy and indifference from an electorate that just doesn't seem to tune into this. And it's our job, mine and yours, to get them focused on what's happening and get them moving. And we begin with good candidates. Without further ado, may I introduce Chris Morse.
I hope we got that on tape somewhere, because when I get home, I'm going to show it to my wife, but I got a feeling I won't be the boss. I won't be the boss when I get home, I'm sure. First of all, yeah, there you go. Mrs. Moss, she's the boss. I want to thank the Queens Village Republican Party for having me here tonight on behalf of myself and Rob Astorino. The campaign is going well, and as Rob and I crisscross this state like we do every day, we've been everywhere, thousands of miles on our campaign cars, flights in the air, we're asking New Yorkers one thing: are we winning or are we losing? And the fact is, we're losing. We're losing big. We have the most people that have left the state out of the United States, 400,000 people in the last 4 years. We have the highest taxes. We have the most unfriendly business atmosphere. We have the most corruption. We have the second highest utility costs. AARP has now said New York State is the worst state to retire in. These are big issues, these are true issues, and these are the issues we're talking about as we crisscross this state. And I'll talk about the taxes. The taxes are so bad, people are leaving this state, just like I told you, by the hundreds of thousands. When we have senior citizens that have to work at part-time jobs like at Walmart just to pay their taxes, to keep the homes that they raise their families in, something needs to be done. When we have taxes so high that we're driving businesses out of New York State because they can't afford to do business here, something has to be done. If these businesses leave here, those are jobs that leave here. You know, we talk about wanting to attract new businesses. Businesses aren't going to come to New York State. New York State has one of the most unfriendly business atmospheres. So not only do we have a hard task of trying to attract new jobs when we get in office in January, we've got to keep the businesses that are here from leaving. So I mean, we've got to stop the ship before we can ever turn the ship around. But I'll tell you, one of the biggest things that bothers me as I travel this state is small business owners. They're being crushed by these taxes and by these regulations that never seem to end. Over 750 regulations from town, village, city, county, state. It is ridiculous. From installing a hot water tank in your income property to opening a new business and wanting to make renovations to your bathroom in your already owned restaurant. The regulations are endless, and we need to do something about it. And one of the promises that Rob Astorino has made on day one, he will sign a law, a moratorium on no more regulations. We have enough laws on the book. Let's enforce what we have instead of having everybody out to make new laws. You know, probably one of the biggest questions I answer as I travel across this state, what's the difference between downstate and upstate? What's the difference between the cultures and the people? Well, you know what? I really didn't know before I started this election when I accepted this offer on May 14th. But I can tell you this, one thing I have noticed. You know what? People downstate and people upstate have some common interests, whether they want to or not, and I tell it wherever I go. Everybody wants decent paying jobs. Everybody wants lower taxes. Everybody wants low crime and safe neighborhoods. So those are the major common denominators that we have as New Yorkers. And that's how we're going to win this race. I can tell you, what we're doing is we're going to areas that Republicans don't traditionally campaign in. As a lifelong Republican, we've done a poor job of increasing our party. That's why there's so many more Democrats. We don't do anything about going into Hispanic neighborhoods, African American neighborhoods. We need to go to these places and tell people, this is what we're about. Lower taxes, less government. And you know what? That's how Rob Astorino won Westchester County. Don't think it's a fluke that he's a Republican in a county that's 2-to-1 Democrat and he's won twice as a Republican. He's done that because he goes to places in campaigns where Republicans don't traditionally do that, and we're doing that all over this state. You know what? People ask, why are you guys wasting time in New York City? New York City isn't a stronghold for Republicans. You're not going to get numbers there. We don't care. We're going to go everywhere, tell everybody what the problems are, what our ideas are, and you know what? We're going to win some of those people over. We know New York City isn't going to have a huge voter turnout with no mayor's race and no presidential race, but you know what? If we get a couple of thousand votes to come over to our side that wouldn't normally do it because we knocked down a door or because we went to a group meeting, so be it. We've got to open our tent up, bring more people in, and you know what? What you can do for me when you go home from here tonight, from now until November 4th, you need to talk to your friends and your relatives and your neighbors. But please don't talk to them as Republican to Democrat, Republican to Working Families Party. Talk to them as New Yorkers. We're all New Yorkers. Talk to them about why we don't have these jobs, why the taxes are so high, why there's so much corruption in Albany. My goodness, the U.S. Attorney is investigating the governor. You know what? The story lasted in the headlines for, what, 5 days? It's ridiculous. The U.S. Attorney is investigating the governor. We ought to be talking about that every day on the news. But you know what? Yeah. But people aren't talking about it because Andrew Cuomo is spending part of his $35 million to blast Rob Astorino with false lies on the news every night. We don't have $35 million. I'll tell you right now, we don't have a fraction of that. But you know what we have? We have a ground game that nobody's going to beat it. and I don't care if we're in Queens or the Bronx or we head back upstate, we're spreading our message and it's spreading good. And it doesn't matter whether it's Common Core, the SAFE Act, jobs or taxes. We have the issues on our side this time. And we're going to do what George Pataki did in 1994. We can do it. I'm telling you, if we keep spreading the word, we get our people out to vote, we tell them what we're doing, what we need to do, how we can make this state a better place. Let's make New York great again. Rob Astorino says it everywhere he goes. I can tell you, he's a stand-up guy, or I wouldn't have gotten involved in this campaign. I want to thank you all for coming here tonight. We thank you for your support. I would have wore a football jersey if I knew it was a pep rally, because you guys are pep. I want to thank you.